Hey, Dan, have you ever been recruited to a secret government agency to help them back engineer some alien spacecraft?
You know what? I did one time, and it was pretty good. But then, you know what? There was like a fire, and I lost all the records. So, sorry. But yeah, there was one time when I did do that.
Nice.
Trust
me.
me.
Did they give you like top secret clearance, like above top secret? You might even say majestic clearance.
You know, it was the tippy top of clearance. It was some beautiful clearance. I mean, it was there was so much clearance that there was a view. It was that good.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Dan, I don't know if our listeners have figured it out yet. I hope they have, but we are doing a documentary, part of Documentary December, this week, and it is about Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Mike, roll that funky intro.
You are listening to the Beyond Terrestrial Podcast, your one-stop shop for the outstanding, the unconventional, and the downright strange. Strap in because the boys are about to take a wild ride. I'm Funk Master B, setting up that tea for the duo of Gumfoolery. Your hosts, Dan and Lee.
Of course I believe in aliens. I mean, in an infinitely growing universe, why would we be the only living species? Bigfoot, Nessie, all that stuff, it's gotta be real. How are we to say that we're the only ones? It's just ignorant. I think aliens are not only from other planets, but they're time travelers.
Welcome back to the Beyond Terrestrial Podcast, your home for the strange, the macabre, the conspiratorial, and all things supernatural. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Dan Martson, recording just down from the crossroads where Robert Johnson made his infamous deal with the devil. As always, I am joined by my friend, my co-host, one of the founding fathers of Beyond Terrestrial, Mr. Lee Arrett. Lee.
Hey guys, I'm coming to you as always from the Haunted Barn studio. I am not with my mobile setup this time. Feels good to be at home. Nice, cozy, dank, a little bit musty, but good. I like it.
But in a good way, that good kind of musty.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at home.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Well, anyways, Lee, we are on Documentary December, and we hit a high point last week with Demon House. That was really fun. We did Missing 411, which was a low point. I think this one we're going to hit the middle.
You know, I agree. I think that this one's just kind of but I got to watch another one of those amazing videos by my favorite documentarian by far right now. Do you know who was that?
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. So, guys, we watched a movie. It's Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. It's on Netflix, and it is by the esteemed Fortean documentarian, Mr. Jeremy Corbell.
First of all, one quick thing. It's on Netflix?
Yeah, dude, it's on Netflix.
God damn it, I rented it from Amazon.
What were you thinking?
I thought that that was the only way to get it. Damn it.
You just put $4 into Jeremy Corbell's pocket.
No, I put I put like 10 cents into Jeremy Corbell's pocket and like $3.90 into Jeff Bezos' pocket.
Yeah, oh, them some deep pockets, son. So, yeah, dude, it was good. We love Jeremy Corbell joints. Like, at least they're fun, right?
Yeah, they are so like. It's fun from a filmmaking standpoint, from like a viewer standpoint, like just trying to figure out what the hell's going on, right? Like,
yeah. So, let's let's save a little bit of our criticism because we do have to do some business, Lee.
Business?
We are doing a rough cut on this conversation. We're trying to get this out before the drop date. We have to thank our friends over at Simple Equations Media who do all of our editing. They're fantastic. They're a full-service audio, video production company. They can consult, go through pre-production. They can shoot video. They can record music. They can do all kinds of stuff for you. And then they can go through the post-production, edit it, put it together just the way you want it. It's a really top-notch group of dudes. And we talked to them last week. Go back to our show last week. Listen to Jay. Listen to Mike. And they'll tell you all about it. It's really good.
One of my best things about them is my buddy Mike. He's the one that does our producing for us. And today he was informing us about how it's getting a little tight and we're really pushing that deadline. And he may have to, unfortunately, make this episode a little bit less polished than usual. I offered to try to help him out, and he's like, "Nah, we're good." I don't know if that means that he doesn't trust me or what.
Yeah, no, they're good. No, they're good guys. So check them out, simpleequations.com. Simple Equations on Facebook and Instagram, Simple Equation _ on Twitter. They're all over the place, so you can find them, or you can call them up at their offices in Vegas if you have a music video or some kind of work video you have to help produce. If you're trying to get into film, TV, whatever, if you want to do a short film, they can do everything. They've done it all. Jay went over it all with us. So again, go back, listen to it.
I'm thinking of contracting them to do my headshots and my my like intro video for acting.
Didn't you try and do one of those at the mall with the glamour shots?
Yes.
Didn't turn out that well?
Not great.
Oh, that's too bad.
The worst part about it was when I got to the back room and I was sitting on that couch and they asked me to take my clothes off. And that's where I was like, something's not right here.
That's why you didn't get the part.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because you did it and they were like, oh no, put them back on. So, all right, guys, back to Bob Lazar. This movie's great. We love Jeremy Corbell movies. Jeremy Corbell, what do you think, Lee? Let's just talk about him a little bit before we start. A self-described protege of George Knapp and a documentarian. He's into like MMA and he's got, a cool haircut and a beard. He kind of looks like a hipster, but I don't know. What do you think? He's like very, very modern man, UFO dude with the documentaries and stuff. Tell us your thoughts.
So it's weird. I love and also am highly confused by Corbell. Corbell is definitely a true believer. He is George Knapp's, little brother. And I truly look at that, but I also look at his filmmaking style, and it's so interesting to me, as well as so confusing to me. Dan, I am very conflicted about Corbell. I love Corbell, and I also am rather confused.
Just watching the movies can be rough sometimes.
Yes.
Well, yeah, let's start off with the movie. And the first confusing part is the logo that Jeremy uses, which he uses in a bunch of his movies. It's like the stars rotating behind him in this desert landscape. And he walks up in front of the camera and turns around. And there's this voiceover about how he's going to weaponize your curiosity. And the whole thing is probably I don't know, at least a minute long, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
it's supposed to be a logo.
And it promptly...
It's on before the movie even starts. How do you have a minute-long logo, dude?
And it promptly goes into 5 minutes of texting.
I know, and then the movie starts, and it's just Jeremy Corbell texting with George Knapp and Bob Lazar for 5 more minutes. Dude.
in a dark room where all you can see is the phone, and it's like weird angles on the phone, and like...
I know. It's so. What happens in the narrative, listeners? Guys, go watch this and then come back, because you'll know exactly what we're talking about. It is so crazy. Bob Lazar is raided by the FBI. His workplace is raided by the FBI, and he starts texting Jeremy Corbell about it. Well, when you hear, hey, my work just got raided by the FBI, that sounds like something exciting. That's something we want to see. But we don't want to see you text about it. We want to see that.
Or even a remake, a reenactment, or
yeah,
I don't care, newspaper clippings. Like...
Yeah, later on in the movie there is video of it. Later on there is video, but it's just like, what was the point of that early part? The texting, is it trying to set us up? Is it trying to get us excited about the movie, drop little hints about Bob and the narrative that we're going to be seeing? I just really don't get the point of that section of the film.
I'm
it's
sorry,
the very first part.
Neither do I. I think the only thing that it does is a little bit of foreshadowing, and it's hard because if you can't keep up with the texting, and I'm not saying that I couldn't, but I could see where moments of it I was just like, wait, what did that just say? What was that? Because the angles are a little weird, right? Like,
yeah. And I'm sure he had to film it himself, right? I did a conversation with Bobby Anthem from the Inhumans, the Inhuman Experience podcast, part of the Fourth Hand Network, about this movie. We wanted to have those guys on, but it didn't work out. So we'll take that conversation I did with Anthem and we'll put it on our Patreon for you guys. Anthem's voice is sublime, so good. And he's got a lot of great points. But he's actually visually impaired. Can you imagine? Like, the first 5 minutes of the movie is texting. All he is getting is bloop, bloop, bloop. Like, so it's a visual medium. Man, it's just it was a little bit off.
Isn't this about the time where that was Mickey Rourke? Am I right? That was Mickey Rourke's voice?
Yes.
Isn't this about the time where Mickey Rourke starts doing these cryptic, like, voiceover portions?
Okay, so Mickey Rourke is the narrator of the movie. And really, though, he's not delivering that much information at all. He just makes it weird and, like, sets up a vibe. And after every paragraph that he does, after every line that he does, he takes the very last sentence and then he repeats it, but with the F word. So it's like in his Mickey Rourke voice, like, the last line would be like, and they think Bob is the liar? They call him a fucking liar? Right? Like, every time it's just the last sentence done over again with the F word, just to tack it on there. I don't know.
Well, and so many of them were just like the very first one was just like a cryptic statement that, like, was that a quote from Bob Lazar, or was that like...
Dude, I don't know. I really don't know, man. It's wild and crazy. So we've talked about a little bit of the style of the film. Let's get into the meat of the film, Lee.
Okay. All right.
The subject matter, Bob Lazar's story. It comes out in the 80s. He does an interview under an assumed name with George Knapp on Las Vegas TV. And more comes out as the years go by. Lee, you are more familiar with Bob Lazar's story, and you just watched this doc. Just recap for us, like, what's the Bob Lazar story?
Okay, so long story short, Bob Lazar was allegedly hired by the government to help back engineer spacecraft. Now, like alien spacecraft.
Hold on, Lee. I got to cut you off there. You said back engineer a couple times. Reverse engineer.
Sorry, reverse engineer.
Reverse engineer, yeah.
My bad.
There you go. You keep going.
To help reverse engineer alien spacecraft. Now, he looks at all this and apparently gets like a high-level clearance within like days of just being recruited. And they have him work on all this stuff. At that time, he sees anti-grav engines and all this stuff. Like, he eventually meets an alien, and it's just a ton of, like, it is confirming. This story confirms, like, everything you would imagine was going on at Area 51, right?
Yeah,
back in like the X-Files time frame.
Pre-Independence Day.
Pre-Independence Day, right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, it's so hard because he's just like, trust me, why would I lie? And to me, I mean, there are certain aspects that are kind of crazy. His business was raided by the FBI, and as far
well, let's not try and get too deep into like what's confirmed, what's not confirmed, whether we believe him, whether we don't. Let's just talk about some of these details, Lee.
Okay.
So, like, I want to talk about his story because it's fascinating to me. He is recruited by a private company that does work for the government. That's confirmed. When he goes to the secret site, there's like a hand scanner that somehow measures your bones, like this weird biometric thing that has pins on your fingers and stuff. Did you hear about the hand scanner?
I did, and I was rather confused about the reason I'm giving you a puzzled look is I felt like it was less accurate than just like a palm reader, like that read
or like a fingerprint scan.
Yeah, that read your entire fingerprint and maybe palm print, right? Like,
I know. I was wondering about that. Like, where is the like unique biometrics? But I mean, maybe if you put your hand on there and measure each finger and the ratios of all their lengths and everything like that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. Unless you lose a finger in a work accident.
Oh.
But evidently the hand scanner was a real thing. Like, it's come out since then that the hand scanner was a real thing. He said he worked at part of Area 51 called Site 4, and that they were loaded up onto buses, and that he was, like you said, recruited for this job and got almost instantaneous clearance. Like, it's so crazy. You would think if you're going to get the tippy top, above top secret level clearance, there would be a lot of background investigation on you, like a shit ton. And it would take months, probably even years to get you to that level.
Yeah, that you would think that. And specifically, he didn't just get tippy top. He got majestic level clearance.
Majestic, ooh la la.
Now, I think that's a nod to the Majestic 12, but moving on.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think it's a little bit crazy because I've known people who have gone to work in government, in the armed forces, that sort of thing. And even for very basic jobs, if they have any kind of security clearance, you can get a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't just get a phone call. Sometimes you have to do an in-person interview.
Mm-hmm.
My wife had to sit down with an FBI agent and give an interview because she was a reference for a guy who went off to join the Air Force or something like that.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
One of her old coworkers. Yeah, I mean, it's that hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't believe that they would give Bob all this. And eventually, like you were saying, Lee, it comes out he sees paperwork on alien autopsies. He's in the spacecraft working on them day to day. That's his job, right? With these super rare elements, crazy high tech. And then he even sees live aliens in the hallways of Area 51. Like, they're just walking around, these aliens, I guess. I don't know.
Hey,
and
Bob,
he describes them.
How was your weekend?
Right.
Bob's like, I went out with Glip Glorp.
He's like, hey, did you figure out that reactor yet? Because, I don't know, maybe we could come and tell you how it works. Like, if they got live aliens, why would they need Bob to be in there figuring it out? I don't know. Whatever.
Wait. They're like, yeah, we'll share the space with you. We'll hang out with you. Yeah, you know what? We'll give you some intel, but we're not going to tell you how any of it works. That's
right, yeah,
on you.
Yeah. Like, so dumb, right? They're just like, hey, man, I'll just tell you about how cool the Galactic Federation is, but you can't join, right?
I'm imagining that's like us going back in time and giving a nuclear react. Like, they mention this in the movie. Like, that's like us going back in time, giving a nuclear reactor to freaking Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah, he's probably intellectually capable of understanding it. But if you don't give him any more information, he is dangerous with it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, that's just like what we are. Like,
right. And Bob's story, most of his story centers around a very rare heavy element 115.
Yes. By the way, I have to ask one question. Did I say DiCaprio or Da Vinci?
I think you said Da Vinci.
I hope I said Da Vinci.
Listeners, go back. I hope you said DiCaprio. We'll see. But anyways, so element 115 had not been synthesized at the time Bob Lazar's story came out. This was in the 80s when the story broke. In like 2003, in a lab in Moscow, Russia, they finally created this stuff. And you create these heavy elements by shooting atoms in a particle accelerator at heavier atoms, and eventually they'll run into each other and stick. And they don't last very long. Element 115 was named Moscovium because it was discovered in Moscow. It has a half-life of 0.65 seconds, and then it decays. So that's it. Like, it's very unstable. And when it decays, Lee, of course, it releases radiation. So it's highly radioactive. It's highly unstable. We have like 4 different isotopes of it that we've made. We can't make it stick. A lot of people, they had theorized that these elements exist, and there are theories now that the periodic table could go up to like 150. But again, this is all theoretical. This is some advanced stuff. Like, making a block of element 115 right now is beyond us. But evidently the aliens got it. Like, it's the stuff.
Okay. All right. And
so Lee, just one more thing on 115. Right, one more thing, and then I'm done with this science talk. I'm geeking out about 115. You know how when you put, like, the 2 north ends of a magnet together, they repel?
yes.
Well, the nucleus of an atom is the same way because it's filled with protons and they're all positively charged. So electromagnetically, they want to repel each other. But in a stable nucleus, that force, that electromagnetic repulsion, is overcome by the strong nuclear force that holds the atom together. These heavy elements that we've synthesized so far, they're so big that strong nuclear force isn't enough to hold it together, and that's why they decay so quickly and fall apart. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Science. Yeah.
Science. Sorry.
And here's the thing about Bob's story. He knows enough of this science to make himself believable. His story is very sci-fi, very hard sci-fi. Not fantasy, not anything. Like, he is really into the science of it. He was a wonder kid. He was building jet engines as a kid. He was way into jet cars. He has a lot of technical knowledge, but I don't know. It's kind of in this weird space in between, like, the real science and just being a science fan.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. At what point, where's the cutoff? You know, like, where he doesn't make a whole lot of sense in many aspects.
Yeah. So there's just a lot to it.
He's very good at talking. Like, he's very good at talking and explaining something and going into depth. I remember hearing one of his interviews. He's explaining how this anti-gravity engine works, and he lost me. He got so far into, like, this description, talking about things spinning and counter spinning and all this stuff, that my brain just went, okay.
All right, yeah, whatever, Bob. All right. Yeah, well, you know what, Ali? I have some theories on that, and I'd like to share them, but I think we are coming up on a break.
I think you're right.
We'll be back after a minute. We hear from some of our friends at Fourth Hand.
Believe in UFOs? Felt that chill up your spine that you just can't explain? Contemplate the other side of reality? Do you shake your head at the world that seems to have lost its common sense? Well, look no further than Strange Uncles. Find them on all podcast platforms and call their hotline to tell your side of reality at 801-252-6945. Open the gates.
All right, and we're back. So we've been discussing Bob Lazar. We've been discussing the confusing aspects and then the somewhat believable moments. Dan was just about to go in and explain. He had some things that he wanted to bring up, some theories on why Bob Lazar seemed to be able to speak about it.
So Bob has a really strange history with the limelight. And the history of his interviews is very up and down. The first one he does under an assumed name with George Knapp, right, on TV. He tried to hide his identity for a little bit, but it was all going to come out. And then sometimes he would clam up and he wouldn't want to talk to anybody. And then other times he can come out of his shell. And what I think is because Jeremy is a true believer, and he's, been kind of groomed by George in these investigative techniques into this Fortean stuff, that he can actually draw Bob out. And that's why Bob is so good in the movie. And he's really good in a lot of the interviews that he's done alongside Jeremy. But other times, like you were saying, Lee, if he's by himself, he can get off into a completely different weird space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're just like, all right. Like,
yeah. So I mean, I don't want to say that Jeremy is handling Bob, but it kind of seems like he might be a little bit.
I think that does to a certain extent speak towards Jeremy Corbell's ability as an interviewer. I don't think that he's necessarily guiding the narrative as he does these interviews, but he is able to keep the person on track pretty well. I mean, unless they're standing in the dark with weird figures behind them as they discuss. I don't remember what we were talking about at that movie, but anyway, moving on.
Oh, the Skinwalker. Yeah,
Yep,
that one
the
was
Skinwalker.
that one was a crazy one.
Random hillbilly girl at the last portion.
Dude, so yeah, I don't know. I love Bob's story. I think it's really cool, but even though there's parts that have been confirmed and there's a lot of new science out about some of the things that he's talked about gravitational waves and stuff like that, the science, the theoretical science behind what Bob talks about was already out there before his story. Like, people knew there could be these heavy elements. People knew that gravity was going to be a particle or a wave or some other kind of force, and these theories were already all out there. He just kind of, picked and chose and put it into his story. So anyone who tells you that Bob Lazar discovered anything is giving you a little bit of a stretch of the truth there. So, because there's no proof he discovered anything.
I agree with that.
Right.
The thing that really gets me is the moments that you're like, why would they do that? Like, for example, the fact that he supposedly never worked for S4, but they were able to prove, or was Los Alamos?
Los Alamos, yeah. He said he worked for Los Alamos, but he was in like the newsletter for the jet cars and stuff that he built.
Yeah.
So like, why would he be in the Los Alamos newsletter if he doesn't work there?
Yeah, but and they claimed that he didn't work there, but then he like, there was proof that he worked there. So those kind of moments, you're just like, wow.
The weirdest one is his college transcripts, right?
Yeah, the transcripts from MIT that just disappeared, right?
Yeah, he says he went to MIT and Caltech. The universities have no record that he ever attended.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, did he or didn't he? And he has friends who said, well, yeah, we took Bob to campus. Like, we dropped him off for class. Like, of course he went there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no record that it ever happened. And this is like, the first time I heard the Bob Lazar story, this was the big gotcha. Like, he lied about where he went to school.
Mm-hmm.
If he's lying about that, then he could be lying about anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the big gotcha anymore, but it seems to me a weird thing to lie about. But at the same time, Lee, you and I know people who are pathological liars.
Yeah.
And once the lie is out there, it has to be maintained, no matter what. If you're pathological, if you're out there. And for someone as smart as Bob, right, it doesn't seem impossible that the lie couldn't be maintained. And, he's smart. He's into jet engines. People probably told him he was smart all the time as a kid, right? And so it's like, hey, you should go to college. You should do this. And maybe if he didn't, make it, maybe he lied about it. And maybe he's just smart enough to lie about all this weird sci-fi stuff too.
Yeah. The one question, it's brought up in one of his interviews, like, if he worked for Los Alamos, which there is evidence that he worked for Los Alamos, he had some sort of education. Like, they wouldn't hire him with no education. So was it...
Well, it depends on what job they hired him to do, right?
They
got janitors at Los Alamos, right?
That's true, but how many janitors are making a rocket bike?
I don't know. Janitors who are into rocket bikes. I don't know. It is weird. Like we've been saying, Bob is really, really smart. Can he prove any of this story though? That's the problem. Like, he's really smart, but where's the proof?
Yeah.
Right? If he's got, allegedly the FBI raid happens at his work because he may or may not still have element 115 in his possession. Mm-hmm. Stable, solid element 115. Well, okay. The FBI raids his place. Did they get it? Is there proof one way or the other? Like, that would be the easiest way to prove the story. If he has it, just be like, block, there it is. Boom. Now everyone believes you.
Well, in my opinion, if he had it, he would have produced. Well,
yeah. I think you're onto it, Lee. I think you're onto it.
If he had it, he would have likely produced it. However, there's also the chance that if he had it, he would have just been Epsteined a while ago, and there would be no issues.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the government erased his college transcripts, right? I mean,
why wouldn't they just? Why
wouldn't they just rub him out too? Yeah.
Yeah, just erase him at that point. Like, honestly, erasing his college transcripts is a little bit more work than I feel the government's willing to do. Like, the government could just stage a car accident that would get him to shut up forever, right?
Right.
But
then there's conspiracy theorists who would say that would confirm the story, right? If he was rubbed out, they'd be like, aha, that he must have been onto something. That's why they wanted him dead. See, you can't win either way with the conspiracy theorists, right? Either he lives and tells a story that he can't prove, or he dies and becomes a martyr to the conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and you've seen that from time to time. People committing suicide, and being considered, oh, well, that must have been done by the government. Maybe you have been lying so much that your conscience finally got the best of you. And considering the pathological liars typically aren't necessarily the most stable individuals in the first place, adding the guilt that finally catches up with you about lying to millions of people, or that you may not be able to maintain your lie much longer, maybe it's worth just killing yourself.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we've talked a lot about pathological liars, and one thing Jeremy says is, why would he lie to his family about it? Why would he lie to his mom? I was like, well, if you're pathological, that's how you lie. You just lie to everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But Bob, like, when you see him on TV, pretty personable guy. Like, he doesn't strike you as a pathological liar. He looks like a nerd, right? And he's just into science stuff.
He's seen that school picture of George, not of George, but of, why can't I think of his name? Microsoft.
Bill Gates?
Of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
He's got the same glasses, at least.
Dude, yeah, it's the glasses. They did not do a lot for him. In fact, the glasses are part of the poster. They become iconic. They're just like, that's the nerd. They're like a symbol for this movie of Bob Lazar. So I don't know. He doesn't strike me as pathological. He looks like a normal dude. Maybe he's just really into this stuff, and wants to get it out there. Maybe he's a true believer. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it all happened. Maybe it all happened, and he is being discredited as part of some kind of government disinformation thing. Who knows? Maybe he's lying completely and has been recruited by the government to spread disinformation. Ooh. See, that's a new one for conspiracy theorists out there.
What if literally all of his stuff was built because they knew he would tell the story? So, here we go.
Just like they set up a prop hanger with a fake spaceship.
Just to throw conspiracy theorists off the track, they literally just took this one guy and was like, let's see how far we can take this shit. And they took it to the bank.
And they drugged him up a little bit, MK Ultra style.
Yeah,
right?
A little bit of LSD, right? Kid in a costume, right?
Like that's why it's just a plain old flying saucer and like very simple shapes. Like the reactor is like a dome, a metal dome that goes over like a little tetrahedron, little pyramid of this element 115, and then all it takes is like 3 or 4 tubes out the bottom to direct the gravity to move the craft. That would explain why everything's so simple. Like, you would think a reactor made from a super heavy element to control gravity would have some more moving parts than just a little pyramid-shaped hunk of metal under a half dome of metal.
It's
right?
because they were feeding this guy bullshit, man. Three prop guys were like enlisted to create this thing, right? Jamie Heineman was like, like.
Oh. Then there's like three little chairs, right? They made them little size to surround the reactor, and there's a crystal in the top, and it's like, oh yeah, the aliens communicate with the reactor and control the craft with the telepathic crystal.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Again, that's why they didn't have to make a steering wheel, right? You know, like, it's just weird, man. It's a weird story. Like, these are the kind of weird little details about it that I'm like, okay, so the aliens just sit there and run it with their brains, but they can't tell us how it works? They need you to go do it?
Well, then that implies that they don't know how it works either, right? Like,
oh, maybe. That'd be actually more interesting, I think.
Like, maybe, okay. So like, if you asked me how to make an LCD TV work, I wouldn't be able to tell you, right? I'd be able to tell you how it runs, but not how to make it, right?
Yeah, good point.
So,
good point. Maybe they discovered this ancient technology. Now, Bob says alien visitation on Earth goes back into prehistory. He says they have archaeological UFOs at Site 4 that have been dug up. Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, man. Evidently, the aliens have been coming here a long time.
Well, I mean, you do have aliens.
Aliens? Yeah. Let me get my hair going here. Spike that up.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah.
I feel like the ancient alien theory was just like, I know that it was started a long time ago and it's basically, racism, but it really just feels like Stargate. Like, they just...
Well, Stargate's based off of the ancient alien stuff.
Well, that's the only thing that makes sense on that.
That's art imitating, I don't know,
art imitating bullshit.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It's a good show, though,
and doing a much better job of it. By the way, Stargate much better.
Oh yeah, I would. If somebody came out and told me that existed today, I would be much more likely to believe it.
Yeah. So we got to take one more break, Lee. We'll come back and we'll tell everyone whether or not we believe Bob Lazar.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
A Very Brady podcast. Join host Tack Van Sickle and his guest each week as they hilariously dissect the iconic TV show The Brady Bunch, one episode at a time.
He was so creepy, though. That guy was like, he's like, I guarantee you, if they could have really done the show the way they want to do it, like he was going to have a cup to the door listening in that night in their room.
A look back at a simpler time where everything was groovy.
So her kids almost wrecked her marriage. Her employee shames her, and she thanks both of them. It's awesome.
So grab your potato sack and head out to the backyard for some fun.
She's in her own room.
What did we tell her about sleeping?
They went and got the entire family for Dad to pick her up and put her in her bed 2 feet away from the desk.
And obviously before they did that, they also said, family, go get your bathrobes. Everyone needs to be in a bathrobe.
A Very Brady podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere podcasts are available.
They have some compromising pictures of Alice that they could have used to blackmail her and keep her there. I've seen those pictures, and Alice is hotter than you think. I'm going to just put that out there and just say it.
That blue dress doesn't do justice?
No, it does. For me, that blue dress does everything.
Far out.
You're a bad man, Tack. You're a bad human. There's a lot of weird in this show.
And we're back. Lee, we've been talking Bob Lazar. We've talked a lot of details about his story. One thing that I left out, the raid on his workplace, Lee, not related to anything that he did. It was actually a search warrant on a murder investigation that Bob is not a suspect in at all. He runs a scientific supply company. It was out of Michigan at the time of filming, and they think someone might have bought some materials from his company and used them to poison someone.
Wow. Now he claims that, and I remember this. He says, why would they raid the property if that was the situation, and they just needed to do that research? But I also wonder, this is a murder investigation. Wouldn't they just come out and search for it themselves?
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Murder investigation, and it crosses state lines, so you got to get the FBI involved, especially if they're doing wire transfers and shipping this stuff in the mail or whatever. There you go. Boom, done. FBI's in it.
They got reason. They've got at least reason to believe that there might be somebody at the location involved. Maybe, right? There's even a chance, right? Okay, let's research.
And yeah, it looks all crazy because you got guys going in there with like hazmat suits and stuff. But Bob's got like uranium in there and stuff. Like, people got to go in there and be very careful what they touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite moment was when Bob was like showing you showing the pictures of like the old timey uranium, or like, what was it? Nuclear.
Yeah. The old science kits they used to sell for kids. Yeah.
Yeah. There were like nuclear science kits, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, these were labeled as the most dangerous toy ever made, but I really don't think they were all that dangerous. And like,
yeah, it's not that bad. It comes with little pieces of uranium and a little Geiger counter, so you can tell how radioactive it is. Yeah, not that bad. As long as you don't swallow it.
Yeah. Let's just remember the young man, the Boy Scout that built the breeder reactor in his shed, and
yeah, don't give kids any of that stuff, man. It's not a good idea. Either they're going to be dumb and try and eat it, or they're going to be smart and do something that can get themselves blown up.
Exactly.
So, or be too smart, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, Lee, we've talked about Bob's story, what it entails, what parts have been confirmed or debunked. I guess really all that's left is whether or not you believe him, right? So what do you think? What do you think about this film? Has it influenced whether or not you believe Bob Lazar?
A little bit. And what I mean by that, just so I can specify, I believe Bob Lazar believes, after watching this film, I believe that he is 100% in belief of the story. Now, I feel like something happened. Like, I do feel like the government is hiding the fact that he worked at Los Alamos. Or Los Alamos is hiding the fact that he worked there. And I also feel that if he did work for Los Alamos, he would have some sort of education, give or take. I doubt they would hire somebody, like he said, just out of high school. I wonder if it's as grandiose as it seems. Like, did he just like take some classes at Caltech or MIT, but really he got a degree in let's say engineering from Michigan Michigan third, like whatever, North Idaho College. Like
Eastern Michigan Central Technical University.
Exactly. Exactly. And is that, I mean, he'd still have the education, so he gets the job at Los Alamos, and he does a few cool things there. Maybe he does get into a program where he's working for the government at S4. My thing is, there's enough meat on the bone for me to believe that he was at those places. What happened from there, I don't know if I believe or disbelieve. My thought is, if something happened, probably was not as grandiose as he seems to think it is. There may be some, delusion there.
Okay. So you think maybe his delusion, it's either like MK Ultra government induced delusion.
Yes.
Or it's just all in his head, like he's actually coming up with it.
Yeah. But I do think that he believes it. Like I think that he absolutely believes it. And I think that he's smart. Like he's so smart. But it like you said, it's either induced intentionally by the government or just completely out of his own head. But so many of these things are a little too crazy. Like just
yeah.
And this is coming from a guy that believes that aliens can visit us and believes that we are being visited by aliens,
and interdimensional Bigfoot.
And interdimensional Bigfoot. But his descriptions of how things work just seems more like magic than reality.
Yeah, this is where I'm at. You know, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right? But I want to believe Bob because he is smart, and because I'm into sci-fi, and I just think it's a great story, and it's worth telling, whether it's true or not. I do think it might be a little bit disingenuous to try and pass it off as true, but he believes it. He clearly does. I think after our experiences this documentary December, talking with real documentarians, I lean a little bit more towards, okay, maybe not all of this is happening just in Bob's head. Like, there's got to be something here. And he's got some connections. I don't know. It's weird. I wonder if he is being set up to be discredited, if that is a real thing, because it just seems like it. It's either that or he's setting himself up to be discredited, which doesn't seem like something a smart person would do.
No, and that I'm kind of with you on that. It's almost as if, like, if they take this one person that can build this credibility and then tear them down, or not even just tear them down, but just use them to discredit a whole genre of theories, basically.
Yeah. So I think there's something there to it. There's something below the surface for sure. And I don't think it's all Bob. My question is it people pushing Bob to be out there? You know, the Corbell types who are setting him up for this? Is it himself? Like he just can't go back on it now, or is it something more nefarious? It's something like this, and I just can't put my finger on it. But you know what? If he's doing an interview or whatever, I'll listen because it's fun. It's a good time.
Mm-hmm. You know who it is?
That's it. Who's that?
It's his wife.
Oh, she's been secretly behind it the whole time. Oh no!
While he's sleeping, she's just like, "You worked at S4."
Oh, she's the one who works for the government, and she's like dosing him with LSD and stuff. to get him into. Oh, that would be a real twist. That'd be a great little twist.
I know. It's a movie.
Save that one. Send it into M. Night Shyamalan. Write it down. Send it to him.
No, I'm not
That's
sending
the
it. I'm
twist.
sending it to Feige or what is his name? Why can't I think of it right now? Probably because I've had a couple beers. Who's the dude that's been producing all the Marvel movies and the Mandalorian?
The Jon Favreau.
Favreau. I'm sending it to Favreau.
Yeah, he's good. He's doing it good. So, anyways, it's a good story, but we're just going to have to keep our eyes peeled, Bree.
Are we going to keep our eyes peeled out there for more from Beyond Terrestrial?
You know it.
Thank you for listening to Beyond Terrestrial, all three of y'all. If you're still a fan of this show, follow Beyond Terrestrial on social media and join the Beyonders Facebook group for even more strangeness. Links to everything, including previous episodes, are available at beyondterrestrial.com. That's the place to go for stickers, merch, show swag, and our Patreon. Patrons get exclusive access to ad-free shows, giveaways, and the unedited after-show show. Anything you give to the show goes straight to Funk Master B's bachelor pad, which for now is also where these jive turkeys record this show. This show was edited by Simple Equations Media with music by Mike Root. Dan and Lee will be back next Tuesday with more from Beyond Terrestrial.